Hello again, everybody, here on Community Media Sports Chat. We gave Jeff the night off. He did a great job yesterday with, covering the parade in Gettysburg. So we give him the night off a little bit there. He's got other commitments going on tonight. So we got Brady back
Hello.
in the seat there. So
Yep.
welcome aboard.
Big shoes to fill in this seat.
I think this is show 933.
Oh.
933. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's 933. So welcome aboard. It's May 26, 2026. And a lot has happened since 7 days since we were sitting in these chairs of hot seat, shining star, plethora of news and all that there. So let's start with the positivity.
Positivity.
What's your shining star from the 7 days that have passed?
I'm going to go with Alimber Santa from the Houston Astros. He threw 2 innings in a combined no-hitter versus the Rangers last night. It was also his MLB debut, and he is the first pitcher to pitch in a no-hitter in their MLB debut in 134 years. So, pretty awesome way to debut. I mean, that debut patch card for Topps is probably going to be worth money, a lot of money now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Speaking of the first picture, that was Bumpus Jones. Yes, that is a real player. Just look at the Baseball Reference. Bumpus Jones, Reds. He pitched for the Reds, threw a no-hitter, October 15th, 1892.
oh, wow.
Yes, yeah, quite. Just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So it was a combined no-hitter, pitched 2 innings, and
Hey, 2 innings as a reliever is a lot more than people think, too. So, you got 6 of the 27 outs, so.
And then the starting pitcher was, I'll let you.
Tatsui Imai, a signing from the Japan League over the summer, so.
He signed for 3 years, $54 million or
Something like that, yeah.
So, that was his, coming out game. He was on the IL earlier. I was looking at his stats, and he was barely getting through 5 innings.
Mm-hmm.
High pitch count. The funny thing is with this combined no-hitter is he had 3 walks in the first inning.
Oh, my gosh.
3 walks. And somehow manage to get to the 6th inning and not give up a run or a hit. So,
That's awesome.
I mean, it's kind of impressive, for the matter there. So, seeing it, and it seems like Houston always gets these, no-hitters.
Yes, they had the World Series one against the Phillies a few years ago.
They have 18 no-hitters now in their franchise, which most of them coming from Nolan Ryan. So,
Yeah.
We haven't had a no-hitter since 2024, and that was Shota Igbanama, with the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
So almost 2 years. We were flirting with a lot of no-hitters last year, especially with Brandon Young last year with awfully close, and that was against the Astros
And
with a perfect game.
Another Orioles was when Jackson Holiday ended, I believe it was the Dodgers no-hitter. Yeah, and then Orioles came back and won that game. So
Correct. So my shining star, I'm going to go to the racetrack. I'm going to go with the Indy 500. Felix Rosenqvist won the 110th Indy 500 by the smallest margin of victory over David Malukas by 23/100th of a second. It was a 1-lap dash because they had a caution, and it looked like Rosenqvist was going to win the race very convincingly with 8 laps. And then a caution comes out, and then another one, and it was just one of those. He was right beside his teammate going down the backstretch from turn 2, and then he just called a perfect run and got past Malukas, but just spectacular, seeing the pictures of that there. So that's my shining star.
Well, keeping it on the racing track, you could also add NASCAR as a whole for honoring the way they honored Kyle Busch over the weekend. That was really nice. I I was able to watch that. So it was,
Just the pre-race and just, seeing how it was unfolding. It was, I didn't know how to expect,
yeah,
I watched NASCAR throughout and all that there, and I can say I watched Kyle Busch's whole career and all that there, and I was taken back just the news of what was happening on Thursday, and then just the sudden news of he was in the hospital, and then 6 hours later he passed away. So with that, and just the tributes and everything, just the stories from what I've
Yes.
been hearing as well.
and even the pregame show, there's a story. I think it was Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez were talking about what he meant to them, and then Daniel Suarez goes out and wins the race. So it's, you can definitely say he was racing for someone there. So
Oh, absolutely. And then I saw it's crazy just seeing how numbers align.
yeah,
They're showing like the 3 races, the truck race, the rally, and then the Cup itself there. If you minus all the numbers, it comes up to 8. And if you do, like, it was 34, kind of put me on the spot. It was 34, I want to say 18 or whatever it was, it came out to be 7 there. So it was just, crazy just how,
Yeah.
it comes together there. So, 41 years old, and just, it looked like, the future, had a couple more years. And it was just,
yeah,
gut wrenching just seeing his son, being 11 years old, and looked like they were going to race, especially maybe in the truck series for a couple, maybe a year or two there, how his, trajectory was going on. So just awful, with that news there. So I'm glad that you brought that
Yep.
up there, with the, transitional point there. So, changing gears a little bit, no pun on that there. Changing gears with the hot seat there.
I'm going to go with Cleveland Cavaliers guard James Harden. He did not score over 19 points or have more than 5 assists in any game in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's also a target on defense. Like, the Knicks were just attacking him. That's how they came back in Game 1 from down 22. He also had 3 of the 4 games, he had 5 or more turnovers, and it's just unacceptable for someone who's supposed to be the number 2 option on a team. And he has taken a lot of flack for it, and I think it's well-deserving, so...
After game 1, did you think it was going to end in a sweep?
No, because I thought that the Cavs were a good enough team to where I knew that they were going to lose game 2 in New York. They were going to be, but I thought once they got back home, they would take a game or 2, and that was just not the case.
I kind of felt the psyche of when
Yeah.
when you're up by 22 and everything was going in the right way for the Cavaliers, and to lose that game the way they did, I felt it was either going to be over in 4 or a gentleman's sweep. I
Yeah,
felt like it was
that-
either going
yeah.
to be one or the other, and it was a sweep there. So I mean, it was just the way that they were playing in some of those games. It was just very, I'm not going to say, they weren't putting all their energy there. I'm not gonna get
Uninspired,
that
that's-
there. It just
yeah.
seemed like they were missing something,
Yeah.
and just the way that they went out, their margin of defeat there. I think I had this on my notes here, with the margin. They were outscored, or the New York outscored Cleveland by 78 points in the 4 games.
Wow.
It's just, you look at, I guess, what, game 3, or, game 1 they lost by 11.
Yeah.
And then game 2, it was by 15 or something.
Yeah,
but
a little bit closer.
then
but
the other 2 games, I mean, once
yeah.
you look at what the score was at halftime, there was no way of coming back from
Yeah.
that. So I'm not saying, they gave up, but I mean, it was...
They definitely look uninspired
Yeah.
for sure. So.
It's tough to come back. It was almost like they lost 2 games in game 1.
Oh yeah.
They come back from that, and then what you're saying, the odds of coming back from, from game 2, and you're already in the hole. what was their psyche? So
Yeah.
that's where I was kind of going with that there. But we'll get back to the Spurs and the Thunder in a little bit there. But I'm going to go with my hot seat, and I'm going to go with the Cubs. And just it's crazy. We were talking about this before the show started of where the Cubs were. Their stock was so high. It was like they were going to go to the World Series and punch their ticket to win the NL Central because they are phenomenal and all this there. Now, you look at them, they're on a 9-game losing streak, and they're not scoring with runners on scoring possession or scoring position. Let me see here. It is, they're 6 for 51 in the 9-game skid. 118 is their average.
Oh my gosh.
It's just pitiful.
Yeah.
So you look at it, and you're in the stance. We looked at their schedule in April. They played 7 games against the Phillies. And we're all, Jeff was saying, the sky's falling, and, what are you going to do? And as it was at that point where the Cubs were playing great baseball.
Yeah, then they continued that against the they started to hit their struggle a little bit against the Dodgers and the Padres, which are 2 of the best teams in the NL, which makes sense. But when like you said, start playing better competition, they're starting to show maybe that they're not as good as we thought they were. The stock shouldn't have been as high, so.
It's kind of hard to look at it just when you look at the standings, and we're saying this, and we can still say it, was the whole division in the NL Central was above 500, and still that case now. But when you looked at it, like the Cubs is like, 3 games, 4 games, ahead of second place team.
Yeah.
At that time frame, was the Cardinals and then the Brewers. Those 3 teams are kind of, jumping, up and down in the standings, where the Reds and the Pirates are kind of staying, I guess, status quo.
Yeah, flirting with 500, so.
And, the Reds are 28 and 25, and the Pirates are 28 and 26. Of those teams, which one do you see kind of rising up a little bit into the fray of the other 3, I guess you could say?
I would definitely say the Pirates. I think that they have the new bats they brought in. They have the talent. And the Reds, I was looking in the standings today. The Reds have a negative, I think it's 29 run differential.
Yes.
And that's just looking at that, I can tell you a lot about a team if they're winning, how they're winning games. And I just don't know if having a negative run differential with a positive record is a sign that a team can stay steady throughout the rest of the year.
Now, the thing that I will bring up is the ace for the Brewers with Jacob Misiorowski.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take when you see him having so many strikeout or pitches above 100 miles per hour? I think he has a record that was set back in 2008 when they were doing the StatCast of 100 miles per hour. He had 57.
I think that's the new type of pitcher you're starting to see. You're trying to get, even like in the like little leagues and high school and college, they're trying to build these guys that just have high velocity and just like overpower hitters. And I feel like you're gonna start to see it as a trend in Major League Baseball. Like look at Mason Miller. He throws he also has a really nice slider, but the overpowering of 100+ mile per hour pitches is you're gonna start to see more of it. But
Do you think it's concerning the velocity and the amount of, what I was getting at was, seeing that is almost alarming because
oh yeah,
the Tommy John.
yeah.
It's
There's
almost just matter of when, not if.
And that's the conversation a lot of people it's kind of around baseball now is people are saying, they're encouraging kids to get Tommy John earlier because the recovery is now, they have so much technology that they're able to recover and become even stronger after. So it's, like you said, I mean, it's going to suck when it happens.
Yeah.
Most likely it's going to happen.
I mean, you look at the Brewers and you got a a prime ace chip in your arsenal with so much, leeway or, to run with arbitration and all that there. He is, what, 2 years behind with Skeens.
Yeah.
With, how much time that the Brewers have. But I look at it, it is phenomenal numbers. His last 6 starts, 58 strikeouts, and 8 extra base hits. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
When I look at it, it's just, I feel like he's going to go down Tommy John. And I don't want that. And that's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. But when you see, another pitcher that had the record was Hunter Green.
Yeah.
And he's having all these arm issues. So I just look at it as like, should they pump the brakes a little bit?
Yeah.
But it's almost like you're just all gas right now because,
Yeah.
Pat Murphy was saying the same thing with, hey, he knows how to work it and he knows how to control it.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah. Because that's, like you said, it's one of those things that you have in the back of your mind while also trying to compete right now. So,
Now, you look at it, I'm kind of jumping a little bit here, but this is not on the script here, but the Cy Young. I think the Cy Young in the National League is going to be the very competitive in years that we haven't seen
Yeah.
prior.
especially because I believe Christopher Sanchez has gone like a full month on the calendar, not like the month of May, but like a month span of not allowing a single run. So he definitely has to be up there.
I would say there's probably 4 pitchers I would say that is in the umbrella of Cy Young in the National League. I would go with Ohtani, Jacob Mizorowski, Skeens, and Sanchez. That's
Yeah.
the 4 that I would say has cleared the path. There's probably a few others that, are, distance away.
At some point, I saw people were kind of pushing for, does Mason Miller even get in conversation if he continues to dominate like this? Which it's so tough as a closer to have a reliever as a Cy Young candidate. But, I mean, what he's doing is phenomenal.
It is.
So.
I think for Mason Miller, I think he's probably the 5th in line.
Yeah.
I think for him to be in conversation it has to be almost a year where there's not a convincing
Yes, that's
Cy Young.
a good point.
And I think what hurts him is you have 4 great pitchers.
Yeah, 4.
So, with his innings, he won't be up to the caliber.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when Zach Britton had his phenomenal season a few years ago. Not a few years, almost 10 years ago now. It's crazy of just saying that there. I think he finished, second or third, because I think Justin Verlander came in first. So you look at that, it has to be the perfect storm.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he can't blow any saves. He can't almost give up any more runs.
Yeah, because if you, like you were saying, a blown save or like a blow up game where he allows 3 runs, it's 1 inning, 3, like maybe less than an inning, 3 runs. That's an ERA killer right there. So he doesn't have he won't have the number of innings to take that down. Like Skeens had that horrible outing opening day, and it's already back down because
Lower
of
that
the
there,
yeah. So it's like you said, he's gonna have to be essentially perfect and the perfect situation, which isn't gonna be this year.
I just, the only thing I could see happening is maybe injuries and setbacks and starters, being rocked.
Yeah.
But even with it, we just said, with you bringing up Skeens opening day, his stock went down, but now that went back up.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting, way. Before we get to the call, disappointing and surprising teams now that we are hitting the 1/3 mark, 54 games into the season. I like to look at that as a mark, not the quarter part of the season, not the halfway is another stretch there, but the 1/3.
Yeah.
You kind of seeing the bulk of your play. What's a team out there that kind of caught your attention in a negative and a positive way?
I'll start out with the disappointing team so we can end positively. But I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles. The Pete Alonso, Taylor Ward signings had Birdland buzzing, and they have not delivered at all. I believe they're 6 games under 500, and
30.
their pitching staff was the question going into the year. The guys like Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, we were thought that they were going to continue to keep them above be quality starters, and they really haven't been so far this year, which is really hurting them because the bats are also ice cold. Gunnar has been cold. Pete Alonso has not been the greatest. And they're also dealing with a bunch of injuries, like Westberg is out for the year. Jackson Holiday just came back. But just expectations were a top 10 team, and they're not anywhere close to that right now.
I'm going to go with the Beltway, and since I'm kind of jumping myself, I'm going to go with disappointing. I'm going to go with the Tigers. Coming into this season, they were picked to be the top team in the American League. And right now, they are 1 game better than the Angels, which they are starting a 3-game series with, to being the worst team in the American League. Injuries is a thing, and yes, they lost their, ace with Schoolbowl, but still you have to, piece together, the squad, and just where they're at right now, 10 games from the Guardians and 5 games from the third wild card spot. Their season's not over, but this is definitely a disappointment of where they're at. And what shocked me, if they miss the playoffs, I think A.J. Hinch probably gets let go.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if this is the last that we see Schoolbowl as the picture, because
Yeah, they're already having trade conversations.
if they're that far out of the playoff picture, why would he even pitch?
Yeah.
What's the incentive? Because if he's testing the market next year, you're doing an audition for other teams,
Yeah.
but you go out there and you might get injured again.
Yeah. Or if you do start to get hit a little
And
bit.
there goes a
then-
$400 million contract.
Yeah.
That projectively speaking that he could get.
Yeah.
So you look at that there, and if they fall off the grid there, and I was looking at the Orioles and Tigers series over this past weekend, that was almost like whoever wins that series, like, hey, we're back.
Yeah.
And the team that lost that series is like, hey, we're done.
Yeah.
Knowing, the Orioles and the Tigers didn't have the same record, but going into it, they both had losing streaks.
Yeah.
So I looked at that as, hey, what's going to happen? Now, the surprising team, what are you looking at?
I'm going to keep it in the AL East, and I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays. At the beginning of the season, a majority of people had them picked to finish last in the AL East, and now they are up 3.5 games on the Yankees, who are in second, and they boast the best record in the AL and are tied with the Braves for the best winning percentage in the MLB. They are 34-17. Braves are 36-18. But just completely out of nowhere, I would say the Braves or the Rays doing this well, and it goes to a testament to their development and their coaches, because this is not a roster that you would look at and be like, oh yeah, that's a top 10 team in baseball.
I will say, if you ask like 10 people that are baseball, they know baseball
Yeah.
and such, I will say most of them wouldn't name 5 guys on that roster.
Yeah.
It's just the formula that the Rays do every year. Some years it works, some years it
Yeah.
doesn't. In the last couple years, it hasn't worked, but they don't deviate and try something that they're not.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting with the Rays. And, some of it is with their payroll, but it's going to be interesting to see how they play the rest of their season, because the Yankees aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Do they have enough to keep the division?
And at some point, we talked about this last week with some like the Cinderella effect of this team. They're playing with no pressure. Now that they have this lead in the AL East and they're supposed to, people are viewing them as a really good team. It's when does that start to kick into them and they have the pressure of, wow, we have to keep up with the Yankees and even the Blue Jays, Orioles, if they get hot, Red Sox could also get hot. It's a really tough division. And how can they, like, we're 1/3 of the way, can they continue to be the team that they are? And I'll be really interested to see 2/3 of the way through the year if they're still at the top of the AL East or if they've kind of mellowed out.
I think with Kevin Cash being there, I think that kind of helps the mold.
Yeah.
So I think that doesn't play a big factor. I think with the Yankees having Garrett Cole back in the rotation, I know Max Fried is going to be out for a good bit. So I think with their hitting, they don't hit for a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
They're a very contact hitting team. I just don't know if they can, distance. If they have a 5-game cushion, I think they have enough steam to withstand the Yankees from losing the division there. I think it's a 2-horse race. I think the Jays and the O's and the Red Sox bury themselves too far to catch up to the other two.
Yeah, especially for the division. Those teams can still make the wild card, but yeah, the division is probably out for each.
So my surprising team, I'm going to go what I was saying a couple of minutes ago about the Beltway. I jumped the gun. I'm going with the Nats. The Nats are 28-27. Are they a playoff team? Not this year.
Yeah.
They could be. I mean, they're only 2 games back from that third wild card spot. They took a very big series over the weekend against the Braves. They took 2 of 3. And I look at that as a good building block.
Yes.
And what you were saying with the Rays and, the pressure.
Yeah.
I think that's opposite with the Nats. They have not.
Yeah.
They're the youngest team out there and the youngest manager, for that matter, too. I think the pressure is going to be in 2027.
Yes, to replicate.
To keep that. You always say, like, is your window, did you peak too quick before your window and all that there? And it's something with their offense, with so many home runs. I heard that they have the most home runs, but their batting average is 245, team average. So they slug. I mean, right now their runs scored is 298, and their runs allowed is 304. It's respectable. They're on a 3-game winning streak. So I look at that as a good rising team.
And if we keep it back what you said, go the other way on the Beltway, go back to the Orioles, what you were saying about the window is 2023 Orioles were young, top of the world, ended up losing playoffs to the Rangers, didn't have much experience, and now they just have never seemed to get back to that winning way. And people are saying, oh, they missed their window with the young core. It's like, once the pressure comes on, it's real. So
it's almost like, what is that window? It's like you're on a train, and you don't know that your stop has already been missed before you know it's been missed. That's how I look at it. It's good to see the Nats, improving. We talked last week about the Cardinals, not the Rockies, the Cardinals, White Sox, and the A's. Yeah. So I just want to throw another team in the mix there. So, now looking at the other part, we'll talk about this quickly here. Oriole All-Star, and we're only going to talk about the Oriole, in a whole there, since both fans of the O's. What player right now do you see making the All-Star game?
I feel like we were talking about this before the show. There's one obvious answer, and that's Rico Garcia. And the only really other contender would be Adley, just because he's having a good season especially bouncing back from last year. He's playing a lot better, but really you got to give credit to Rico Garcia. He's been one of the best relievers in the whole league, maybe even the AL.
Yeah, you look at his numbers, 26 innings and having an ERA of under 1. And this is guy has been like a journeyman all throughout. I look at the All-Star game. I don't really like care who wins. I look at who goes. Like, oh, that was good for him to make the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I have not voted for the All-Star game in years. Probably, since I was like in high school and such there. I don't believe like it should all be the fan vote itself. I think it should be a percentage. And that was another thing we were talking about before we went on air. Like the NBA has a percentage.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at it. It's just the ballot stuffing. You're going to see so many of the Dodgers, and Cal Raleigh shouldn't be an All-Star, and he'll probably win the vote.
And even like the Orioles, you look at the Orioles and they're like, oh, you think of Gunnar, you think of Adley. Gunnar does not deserve to be an All-Star this year. Adley doesn't really either. I mean, Rico Garcia is a clear answer. It's just whether or not, like you said, people know enough baseball to actually submit that. So
I will be disappointed if Tatis is starting for the NL,
yeah,
because he's approaching 200 at bats with 0 home runs. There's other deserving players.
yeah,
It shouldn't be a popularity contest. It should be, what have you done in the first 90 or so games of the season?
Yeah.
Not what you did in 2025 or 2023 of, if you're ending of your career, whatever they call that, kind of
Yeah.
like a thanks for what you did to the league. That's a different story.
Yes.
That's not what I'm talking about there. So, we'll talk more about that, in, the coming weeks there, especially ending of June and July. But I just wanted to get a quick point on that there. Now, in the NBA, the Spurs and the Thunder, Game 5 tonight. Marquee game
yes.
in OKC. Who you taking for Game 5?
I like the Spurs this one and the next one, winning in
Okay.
6.
I am taking the Thunder, but the Spurs in Game 6 and Game 7.
Okay.
I really want to see this go on 7.
Yeah. I think every basketball fan
Just the
does.
caliber of how back and forth that this series have how it started and how it's going right now. That was a critical game for the Spurs to win, to make it back to 2-2, and you go to OKC, because I think if it goes 3-1, I think it's over.
It's over, yeah.
So what do you see for the Spurs winning the next 2 games? Or what's the X factor of them?
Well, the main part is just Wemby is insane. He's unbelievably talented. But the more of an X factor, like a guy hidden under the radar, I would say is definitely Devin Vassell and his defensive versatility. The fact that he has guarded Shea, he has guarded Jalen Williams when he's played. He's guarded basically a lot of. He just switches off when they're good players, and he's dominated on defense. So it's that defense and leading in the offense too. He's also had 2 games this series where he scored 20 points, and if the Spurs get 20 points out of him, they're most likely going to win. So
I think it's going to be, how does Shea play in this game?
yeah,
Is the Spurs going to be able to contain them? Because, so far they've been able to kind
Yeah.
of hold them in a bottle, but it's a matter of Game 5. I think, he's going to have a good game, but is it going to be enough for the bench?
Also, can you get any help from Chet? Chet has put up 11.25 points and 6 rebounds a game as a 7-footer. I mean, I understand it's Wembanyama's guarding you, but still, he's supposed to be the number 2 option, and he just has really not been that at all. So
Now, for the Knicks, who do they match up better, or who do they want in the finals?
I say OKC because of the physicality. Like Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, they're physical guys. They can play some defense. They don't mind. And you just, like I said, stay away from Wembanyama. Honestly,
I think it would almost be a toss-up if it was Spurs Knicks, with the edge going to the Spurs with Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
I think with the Thunder, I don't know. Either matchup, the Knicks are going to be underdogs, which is
Yes.
crazy to say because they're on a 10-game winning streak and they're the
Yeah.
hottest team right now, in the league. So it's going to be a tough call. I said this at the beginning of the playoffs. I said the team that comes out of the West is going to win the whole thing. I'm sticking with that there.
That's definitely
No
fair.
matter of how the Knicks are playing right now.
But then again, you took a look at the Cavs, who were Game 7 battle tested. Knicks swept Sixers. Knicks swept here. If this game goes to 7, and like we said, the Knicks take a game or two, though, because they'll be on the road, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be on the road, win a game, and then momentum. It's could be interesting, but I agree that the winner of the West probably still wins it all.
Now, the College World Series will be starting. We had the brackets that were just unveiled yesterday. What's your takeaway with the field of 64?
I think that the teams you got to look out for. Obviously, you got UCLA. It was dominated the Big Ten. They went 28-2 in Big Ten play this year. They have the probable number 1 overall pick in Ross Chalowski. Georgia Tech has the best offense in the BB Core era, which I believe is since 2003 or 2004. And then Georgia won the SEC. Those, I'd say, that are the 3 big teams to look out for. I personally have Georgia Tech winning it all. I think their offense is just too good. They have 4 first-round picks, so I'd look for them. And then overall, I'd say some regionals to look out for would be Lawrence, Kansas, Lincoln, Nebraska, and then also Chapel Hill will be interesting with UNC, Tennessee.
Now, looking at some of the regions, what is the hardest region out there that you would be surprised, or wouldn't be surprised if that was an upset or such there?
I would definitely say Lincoln, Nebraska. Nebraska's 13th ranked. They have the 2 seed in that region is Ole Miss, and then the 3 seed is in Arizona State. And Arizona State being a 3 seed is very surprising because they were ranked in the top 25 for most of the year. They have one of the best players in the country in Landon Hairston. And it's just any of those 3 teams I could see winning that. And then it's just crazy because pitchers are going to be used a lot, and it all comes down to the pitching staff. So
I will say, I think you might agree with this. College baseball is the craziest postseason of the sports because it's one of those, lose, you're not done, but you're really, your back is against the wall.
You gotta,
especially if you lose your first regional game.
And every time I watch over the summer, they emphasize the importance of winning game 1, and then in the 1-0 game, the teams that go 2-0, I think it's above 90% of the time, or above 80% of the time, they move on to the super regional. So it also is an interesting format because if you're a 1 seed and you're playing a 4 seed, do you throw your ace or do you trust your number 2 and save your ace for the 1-0 game? And that catches teams. I always find that really interesting on what coaches decide to do because, to be honest, I don't really know what I would do. It's a tough call, and then because you don't want to throw your ace and then not have him for the rest of the tournament in game 2. But
it's a very high stake chess.
Yes,
you're not assuming you're going to win, but you don't want to have the hope factor.
Yeah,
because you're trying to pencil in and all right, we're going with number 2, here's this, and then kind of getting yourself to the super regionals and to get into Omaha. So it's a very fascinating way looking at it. So I mean, would you agree that college baseball, and I guess softball for that matter too, is one of the unique ones? Because football, you
definitely unique.
Yeah, and then with college basketball, you lose and you're done. But here it's just very,
Yeah, besides the one and done factors, like you said, with the NFL and March Madness, I think that college baseball offers an opportunity because baseball is baseball. You're going to lose a game. You almost can't have it be single elimination, or else you wouldn't probably get the true best team. And
Would agree, yeah.
that's where it's like you'll see sometimes even the 4 seeds upset the 1 seeds in the game 1, and then the 1 seeds come back all the way back to win it all, to win win their regional. And it's just very interesting format because puts coaches in a tough decision because there's a chance they could play 5 games in 4 days. So
And then who knows about weather sometimes.
Yeah,
too,
weather,
and that
exactly.
really throws a wrench into the equation.
especially if your ace is going 3 innings and like you said, rain delay, and then now you got to go to the bullpen, and when does that guy come back, if at all, for the rest of the so.
Some other notes in NFL. Matthew Stafford lands a 1-year extension, $55 million. Rams will be tied with Stafford until through 2027 season.
That was shocking to me because it really just, not the extension, but just makes me question the Ty Simpson pick even more, because if they keep Stafford, he's going to be the starter. They're going to try to contend, but then why would you draft Ty Simpson this year when you could have added like a Mekhi Lemon, any talent to put around him and go all in?
I feel like there's other moves that could have been used instead of
Yeah.
a future pick that might not even see the field until 2028.
And it's like if they took someone else in the first round and then took a quarterback second or third, I don't think people would really even question it because Stafford is going to be soon. It's just the reach on Ty Simpson is just
That's
the problem.
My takeaway. Vegas is going to get not Vegas. Tennessee will have the Super Bowl in 2030, which that was basically
yeah.
Everyone kind of assumed that with the new stadium and all
Yep.
that there. So that's coming. The Cardinals are very far apart on reaching a new deal with Jacoby Brissett. So
Could lead to Carson Beck getting a start week 1 possibly.
they do have Minshew, Gardner Minshew at
Okay,
the helm
yeah.
there too. He's coming off of ACL, so I don't know, what the step
Yeah.
would that be, but it does look like Carson Beck could be the starter, with
Mm-hmm.
OTAs just right around the corner. And then also Aaron Rodgers. I don't think we talked about this last week, but his final season with Pittsburgh. Do they have enough weapons?
That's just tough because Mike McCarthy with his quarterback is really good because like when he was with the Cowboys, when Dak was healthy, there was like 10+ win seasons. It's what can Aaron Rodgers do now? So that's the question.
Yeah, I think.
And I wouldn't even be surprised if we're in week 9 and we still don't know what the answer to that question is either. So
Let's see. The O's are losing right now, 1-0. Yeah. So before we end the show, I almost forgot, but did not forget. Banner sponsors. If you want to be a banner sponsor, it is $80 a month or $880. Now, to be a banner sponsor, you get recognized in weekly local programming credits on our Comcast Xfinity channel 12 and 240 YouTube channel and Facebook, individualized custom social media shoutouts, highlight and digital quarterly newsletters read by hundreds of subscribers. Now, our current banner sponsors is Adams County Community Foundation, Adams County Sports Hall of Fame, Adams County Trout Unlimited, Classic Antique Innovation, Destination Gettysburg, Exchange Club of Hanover, and Gettysburg Railway. Now, as we hit the ending of the show, any final thoughts? Or I think we hit basically everything on the map there.
Not really. I would just thank you for having me.
Yes,
And,
not a problem. And Jeff will be back here in the studio. But like I said at the beginning of the show, we just gave him the night off. He worked great yesterday at the parade, and just give him the night off there. But that will end tonight's show, and we bid you adieu. And trivia will be starting in 15 minutes, actually 14 minutes and 6 seconds. With that, have a good one.